Picking up from page 70. Material benefits, legal protections, social support resulting from marriage can increase wealth and improve psychological well-being for married spouses. Basis: Lupton and Smith. Marriage assets and savings. Marriage is correlated with wealth accumulation. Badgett. Marriage confers numerous economic benefits, including greater specialization of labor and economies of scale, reduced transactions costs, health and insurance benefits, stronger statement of commitment, greater validation and social acceptance of the relationship, and more positive workplace outcomes. Some benefits are not quantifiable, but nevertheless are substantial. Proponents admit that societal support is central to the institution of marriage and that marital relationships are typically entered into in the presence of family members, friends, and civil or religious ceremonies, authorities. Proponents admit that marriage between a man and a woman can be a source of relationship stability and commitment, including by creating barriers and constraints on dissolving the relationship. The long-term nature of marriage allows spouses to specialize their labor and encourages spouses to increase household efficiency by dividing labor to increase productivity. Proponents admit that marriage between a man and a woman encourages spouses to increase household efficiency, including by dividing their labor in ways that increase the family's productivity in providing goods and services for family members. The tangible and intangible benefits of marriage flow to a married couple's children. Lamb, explaining that when a cohabitating couple marries, that marriage can improve the adjustment outcome of the couple's child because of the advantages that accrue to marriage. American Psychiatric Association article support of legal recognition of same-sex civil marriages, written July 2005. Marriage benefits children of that couple. Whether any evidence shows California has an interest in differentiating between same-sex and opposite-sex unions. Same-sex love and intimacy are well documented in human history. The concept of an identity based on object desire, that is, whether an individual desires a relationship with someone of the opposite sex, heterosexual, same-sex, homosexual, or either sex, bisexual, developed in the late 19th century. Chauncey. The categories of heterosexual and homosexual emerged in the late 19th century, although there were people at all times, periods in American history, where primary erotic and emotional attractions were to people of the same sex. Herrick. Heterosexual and homosexual behaviors alike have been common throughout human history. Herrick. In practice, we generally refer to three groups: homosexuals, heterosexuals, and bisexuals. Herrick. Sexual orientation is, at its heart, a relational construct because it's all about a relationship of some sort between one individual and another, and a relationship that is defined by the sex of the two persons involved. Sexual orientation refers to an enduring pattern of sexual, affectional, or romantic desires for and attractions to men, women, or both sexes. An individual's sexual orientation can be expressed through self-identification, behavior, or attraction. The vast majority of people are consistent in self-identification, behavior, and attraction throughout their adult lives. Basis. Herrick. Sexual orientation is a term that we use to describe an enduring sexual, romantic, or intensely affectional attraction to men, to women, or to both men and women. It is also used to refer to an identity of a sense of self that is based on one's enduring patterns of attraction, and it is also sometimes used to describe an enduring pattern of behavior. Again, Herrick. Most social science and behavioral research has assessed sexual orientation in terms of attraction, behavior, or identity, or some combination thereof. Herrick. The vast majority of people are consistent in their behavior, their identity, and their attractions. Herrick. The Lohmann study, the social organization of sexuality, sexual practices in the United States, Chicago, 1994, shows that 90% of people in the Lohmann sample were consistently heterosexual in their behavior, identity, and attraction, and a core of 1 or 2% of the sample were consistently lesbian, gay, or bisexual in their behavior, identity, and attraction. Herrick. If I were a betting person, I would say that you do well to bet that a person's future sexual behavior will correspond to his or her current identity. Sexual orientation is commonly discussed as a characteristic of the individual. Sexual orientation is fundamental to a person's identity, and it is a distinguishing characteristic that defines gays and lesbians as a discrete group. Proponents' assertion that sexual orientation cannot be defined is contrary to the weight of evidence. Herrick. In his own research, Herrick has asked ordinary people if they're heterosexual, straight, gay, lesbian, or bisexual, and that is a question people generally are able to answer. Meyer. Sexual orientation is perceived as a core thing about who you are. People say, "This is who I am." It is a central identity that is important. Herrick. These sorts of relationships, the need for intimacy and attachment, is at the very core part of the human experience and a very fundamental need that people have. Herrick. If two women wish to marry each other, it is reasonable to assume that they are lesbians, and if two men want to marry each other, it is reasonable to assume that they are gay. Herrick. Researchers may define sexual orientation based on behavior, identity, or attraction based on the purpose of a study, so that an individual studying sexually transmitted infections may focus on behavior, while a researcher studying child development may focus on identity. Researchers studying racial and ethnic minorities similarly focus their definition of the population to be studied based on the purposes of the study. Most people are nevertheless consistent in their behavior, identity, and attraction. Herrick, responding to a cross-examination that sexual orientation is a socially constructed classification and not a valid concept, replied, "Social constructionists are talking about the construction of sexual orientation at the cultural level, in the same way that we have cultural constructions of race and ethnicity and social class. But to say that there's no such thing as class or race or ethnicity or sexual orientation is to, I think, minimize the importance of that construction." Badgett, in Best Practices for Asking Questions About Sexual Orientation on Surveys, states, includes a discussion about methods of conducting surveys. It does not conflict with the substantial evidence demonstrating that sexual orientation is a distinguishing characteristic that defines gay and lesbian individuals as a discrete group. Proponents campaign for Proposition 8 assumed voters understood the existence of homosexuals as individuals distinct from heterosexuals. Basis. Video supporting Proposition 8. Supporters of Proposition 8 identified homosexuals and those sympathetic to their demands as supporters of marriage for same-sex couples. Advertisement. Honest answers to questions many Californians are asking about Proposition 8 from Protect Marriage 2008. The 90% of Californians who are not gay should not have their religious freedoms and freedom of expression be compromised to afford special legal rights for the 2% of Californians who are gay. From Protect Marriage, Myths and Facts About Proposition 8. Proposition 8 does not interfere with gays living the lifestyle they choose. However, while gays can live as they want, they should not have the right to redefine marriage for the rest of society. Leaflet from the California Family Council, the California Marriage Protection Act, San Diego County's tipping point. The leaflet asserts that homosexuals do not want to marry. Instead, the goal of the homosexual community is to annihilate marriage. Frank Schubert and Jeff Flint, Passing Proposition 8 Politics. The Proposition 8 campaign was organized in light of the fact that many Californians are tolerant of gays. California Voter Information Guide, California General Election, Tuesday, November 4, 2008, states, while gays have the right to their private lives, they do not have the right to redefine marriage for everyone else. Individuals do not generally choose their sexual orientation. No credible evidence supports the finding that an individual may, through conscious decision, therapeutic intervention, or any other method, change his or her sexual orientation. Basis: Herrick. Herrick has conducted research in which he's found the vast majority of lesbians and gay men, and most bisexuals as well, when asked how much choice they have about their sexual orientation, say they have no choice or very little choice about it. Herrick, at page 39, contains a table that reports data on approximately 2,200 people who responded to questions about how much choice they had about being lesbian, gay, or bisexual. Among gay men, 87% said they had experienced little or no choice about their sexual orientation. Among lesbians, 70% said they had no or little choice about their sexual orientation. Herrick demonstrates that 88% of gay men reported they had no choice at all about their sexual orientation, and 68% of lesbians said they had no choice at all, and another 15% reported a small amount of choice. Herrick, it is certainly the case that there have been many people who, most likely because of societal stigma, wanted very much to change their sexual orientation and were not able to do so. Herrick agrees with Peplow's statement that claims about the potential erotic plasticity of women do not mean that most women will actually exhibit change over time. At a young age, many women adopt patterns of heterosexuality that are stable across their lifetime. Some women adopt enduring patterns of same-sex attractions and relationships. Herrick, most people are brought up in society assuming they will be heterosexual. Little boys are taught they will grow up and marry a girl. Little girls are taught that they will grow up and marry a boy. And growing up with those expectations, it is not uncommon for people to engage in sexual behavior with someone of the other sex, possibly before they've developed their own real sense of who they are, of what their sexual orientation is, and I think that's one of the reasons why gay men and lesbians have experienced heterosexual intercourse. It is not part of their identity, it's not part of who they are, and is not indicative of their current attractions. Herrick, therapies designed to change an individual's sexual orientation have not been found to be effective, and that they've not been shown to consistently produce the desired outcome without causing harm to the individuals involved. Herrick is not aware of any major mental health organizations that have endorsed the use of such therapies. Perry is a lesbian and feels she was born with her sexual orientation. At 45 years, she does not think that it might somehow change. Steyer is 47 years old and has fallen in love one time in her life with Perry. Zerillo has been gay as long as he can remember. Katami has been a natural-born gay as long as he can remember. Kendall, when I was a little girl, I knew I liked other boys, but I didn't realize that meant I was gay until I was probably 11 or 12 years old. I ended up looking up the word homosexual in the dictionary, And I remember reading the definition, and it suddenly dawned on me that's what I was. Kendall, I knew I was gay just like I knew I'm short and I'm half Hispanic. And I just never thought that those facts would change. California has no interest in asking gays and lesbians to change their sexual orientation or in reducing the number of gays and lesbians in California. Proponents admit that same-sex sexual orientation does not result in any impairment in judgment or general societal, social, and vocational capabilities. The Attorney General admits that sexual orientation bears no relation to a person's ability to perform in or contribute to society. The Attorney General admits that the laws of California recognize no relationship between a person's sexual orientation and his or her ability to raise children, to his or her capacity to enter into a relationship that is analogous to marriage, or to his or her ability to participate fully in all economic and social institutions, with the exception of civil marriage. Lamb, gay and lesbian sexual orientations are normal variations and are considered to be aspects of well-adjusted behavior. Herrick, homosexuality is not considered a mental disorder. The American Psychiatric Association, the American Psychological Association, and other professional mental health associations have all gone on record affirming that homosexuality is a normal expression of sexuality and that it is not in any way a form of pathology. Miller agrees that courts and legal scholars have concluded that sexual orientation is not related to an individual's ability to contribute to society or perform in the workplace. Same-sex couples are identical to opposite-sex couples in the characteristics relevant to the ability to form successful marital unions. Like opposite-sex couples, same-sex couples have happy, satisfying relationships and form deep emotional bonds and strong commitments to their partners. Standardized measures of relationship satisfaction, relationship adjustment, and love do not differ depending on whether a couple is same-sex or opposite-sex. Proponents admit that gay and lesbian individuals, including plaintiffs, have formed lasting, committed, and caring relationships with persons of the same sex, and that same-sex couples share their lives and participate in their communities together. Proponents admit that many gay men and lesbians have established loving and committed relationships. The Attorney General admits that gay men and lesbians have formed lasting, committed, and caring same-sex relationships, and that same-sex couples share their lives and participate in their communities together. The Attorney General admits that California law implicitly recognizes an individual's capacity to establish a loving and long-term committed relationship with another person that does not depend on the individual's sexual orientation. Peplock, research that has compared the quality of same-sex and opposite-sex relationships and the process that affects those relationships consistently shows great similarities across couples both same-sex and heterosexual. Peplock, reliable research shows that a substantial proportion of lesbians and gay men are in relationships, that many of those relationships are long-term. Young agrees with the American Psychoanalytic Association statement that gay men and lesbians possess the same potential and desire for sustained, loving, and lasting relationships as heterosexuals. Young agrees that love and commitment are reasons both gay people and heterosexuals have for wanting to marry. Badgett, same-sex couples wish to marry for many of the same reasons that opposite-sex couples marry. Badgett, same-sex couples have more similarities than differences with opposite-sex couples, and any differences are marginal. Adam Romero, Census Snapshot. California, the Williams Institute, 2008. In many ways, the more than 107,000 same-sex couples living in California are similar to married couples. According to Census 2000, they live throughout the state, are racially and ethnically diverse, have partners who depend upon one another financially, and actively participate in California